She locked the bathroom door. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Not, we had a fight wrong, but there's a stranger in my house wrong. We'd never used that lock in 7 years, not once. And now she needed it. I was standing in the hallway holding 2 mugs of chamomile tea like an idiot, listening to the tiny metallic click that may as well have been a gunshot to our marriage. I didn't knock, didn't ask what was wrong. I just placed the mugs on the hallway table, walked to the living room, and sat down on the far end of the couch like a guest in someone else's house. The TV was still on, showing a muted cooking show neither of us were watching. Something about pasta or maybe pork, I don't know. I just remember the fake steam and the host's fake smile while my wife was behind a locked door, maybe texting him, or deleting things, or crying, or none of the above. My phone buzzed. It wasn't her. It never was anymore. Instead, it was a notification from our shared photo drive. Mariel had deleted a folder, one titled Oregon Trip. That was our last vacation together, the last time she reached for my hand without thinking, the last time I believed we were good. Now, even those memories were being quietly erased, one by one, while she hid in the bathroom. I sat there staring at the TV with dry eyes and a full bladder I didn't care about. Something inside me wasn't breaking. It had already broken days ago, weeks maybe. I just hadn't realized it until that lock turned. She came out 20 minutes later. No apology, no explanation, no eye contact. Just walked past me, got her phone charger, and mumbled something about being tired. I nodded, didn't say a word. Not because I was strong, but because I was empty. That night, I didn't sleep. Not from pain, just confusion. The kind that makes your hands shake when you try to unlock your own phone because you suddenly start wondering if she's texting someone right now in your bed while your back is turned. So I stopped turning my back. I started sleeping downstairs. She didn't notice, or she pretended not to. But here's the thing. When someone keeps shrinking you down like that, ignoring your presence, deleting your photos, recoiling from your touch, eventually, you disappear. So I did. Quietly, without a speech. No drama, no, you did this to me. Just gone. No texts, no calls, no, where are you? And that's when she absolutely lost it. But that's not even the shocking part. It's why she lost it that'll twist your stomach. And trust me, I have the screenshots to prove it. She hadn't texted me in 2 days. Not to ask where I was, not to ask when I was coming home, not to check if I was alive. You'd think a wife would at least wonder why the shared blanket on the bed stayed perfectly flat, or why the shower never steamed up in the morning, or why my mug was missing from the dish rack. But no, I was gone, and she treated it like I'd left the room, not the house. But then my phone rang. It was 11:52 p.m., and the number wasn't saved, but I recognized the area code. Our city. I hesitated, thumb hovering over decline, until curiosity overruled dignity. I answered without saying anything, just breathed. There was silence, then a man cleared his throat. Is this Elwood? I froze. Nobody ever asks for me by name like that, not unless it's official or personal. I replied cautiously, yeah, who is this? Another pause, then he said it. My name's Cam. I work with your wife. Cam. I had never heard this name before. Never once mentioned in passing, no Christmas card signed with a plus Cam, no Facebook tags. And yet, he said it like I should know. He continued, look, I know this is weird, but are you guys okay? That question hit like a slap. Are we okay? Was he serious? Why? I asked, my voice thin, tight. Why would you call to ask me that? She's been acting different. In meetings, at lunch. She broke down crying in the copy room today, said you hadn't been home. I offered to call and check on you. She didn't stop me. So that's how low we'd sunk. She didn't reach out herself. She sent a co-worker, a man, to ask if her husband was okay. But here's the kicker. This guy didn't sound like he was just a friendly colleague. He was nervous, careful, like someone balancing on a rope above a fire. And then he slipped. I mean, it's not like she ever talked about you much to begin with. But lately she's been... I cut him off. What do you mean she never talked about me? He stammered. I didn't mean it like that, man. I thought you guys were maybe not together. Right there, that sentence. That's when my spine turned to ice. This stranger, this Cam, was telling me without saying it directly that my wife had been acting single, that her absence wasn't new, that this version of her, the one who locked bathroom doors and deleted old memories, wasn't something she became. It's something she'd already been. Just not around me. I thanked him, hung up, sat in complete darkness with the screen still glowing. And then I made the worst decision of my life. I turned on her old tablet. She used it once for recipes and Pinterest, but I'd noticed it had been missing for a few weeks. When I moved out of the bedroom, I saw it tucked between the couch cushions, almost like she'd been using it privately, sloppily. And the password? Still the name of our cat. 3 taps, and I was in. What I found wasn't naked photos, wasn't texting, wasn't anything explicit at all. But it was worse. It was voice recordings of me. Clips of me snoring, clips of me cooking, one recording of me singing off-key in the shower, labeled, dated, categorized. And next to them, recordings of phone calls. Calls she had with people I didn't recognize. Men. One of them was Cam. She'd been recording their conversations, sometimes late at night, whispering. The final recording was titled, He Knows, dated 2 days before I walked out. I haven't pressed play yet, but I will. And when I do, I'm scared I won't recognize the voice of the woman I married. I didn't sleep that night. I held the tablet in my hands like it was ticking. Not metaphorically, I mean it. Every few seconds I expected it to do something. Buzz, flash, scream. I was afraid of it, and it was just a screen. At 4:16 a.m., I finally pressed play on the file labeled, He Knows. And I swear to God, the first voice I heard wasn't hers. It was mine, muffled, like it had been recorded through a closed door. I was saying something mundane, something about garbage day. I remembered the moment. It was 2 mornings before I left. She was in the bathroom. I asked if it was recycling week. That's it. Then silence. Then her voice, low, nervous. He asked about the trash. I think he suspects something. Pause. Another voice, male, confident. Relax. He's not going to do anything. He never does. She whispered, He's been quiet, like he's watching me. He laughed. He watches everything but never sees the point. That voice, it wasn't Cam. This man sounded older, colder, like someone who'd been involved for a long time and didn't care if things broke. And then she said something I can't forget, even if I live another 100 years. She said, if he leaves, it actually makes this easier. No panic, no guilt, just relief. The recording ended with a soft knock, probably me, and a sharp whisper, I'll text you when he's gone. I closed the tablet and sat there for maybe an hour, staring at the floor, not thinking. just unraveling. I thought about all the times I forgave the weird mood swings, the late meetings, the silence. I remembered her birthday last year when I made a handmade scrapbook of our years together, and she barely opened it. Said it made her feel nostalgic in a bad way. I remember that line now like it was carved into stone. Nostalgic in a bad way. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. That part of me had gone numb days ago. But something snapped in me right then. Not anger, just clarity. I decided I needed to go back to the house. Not to confront her, not yet. But to look at it. To see the scene of the crime. I had only packed a small bag when I left. I needed to know if anything had changed, if anything was missing or added. I waited until mid-afternoon, when I knew she'd be at work, and used my key. The house was clean. Too clean, like someone had wiped it down, sanitized it. But not for guests. For guilt. The framed photo of us from our wedding was gone from the mantel, replaced by a bland ceramic vase. There were 2 wine glasses in the sink, both stained dark. Our calendar still had my name scratched into appointments, crossed out like a to-do list. But the worst? In the laundry room, behind the cleaning shelf, tucked carelessly into a grocery bag, was a hotel receipt. One night, 2 guests. Checkout time. The morning she told me she had an off-site training. I sat on the cold tile floor with the paper in my hands, staring at the printed name of the place. Riverside Suites. She'd picked a hotel 30 minutes away, close enough for convenience, far enough to keep her conscience from catching up. But here's the thing. I wasn't angry she cheated. I was angry that she planned it like a business transaction, that she'd scheduled it between calendar reminders and voice recordings like I was an obstacle, not a husband. I left everything where I found it, locked the door behind me, and drove straight to my mother's house, where I'd been staying. I didn't speak for hours, just sat on the porch with a coffee I didn't drink, whispering the words. She picked him. She picked him. She picked him. And yet, that night, for reasons I still don't understand, I went back to the tablet. I opened her voice app, and I found something she'd recorded of herself, alone, crying, repeating the same line over and over like she was trying to convince herself. He doesn't love me anymore. He doesn't even look at me. She said it 17 times. But she was wrong. I looked at her every day. She just didn't look back. 3 days passed. I didn't go home. I didn't call her. I didn't block her either. I just let her twist in the silence she created. And she did. On the 4th day, Mariel texted me. Just one word. Talk. I stared at it for 20 minutes before locking my phone again. No reply. No emotion. She'd said everything I needed to hear in that voice memo with her mystery man, the one who thought I was too soft to ever leave. But now I wanted her to wonder if maybe I wasn't so soft after all. That same afternoon, I got a text from her sister Charlotte. Hey, are you and Mariel okay? She was off at dinner, said you were on a break but wouldn't explain, then left early. Just weird. Interesting. Mariel had a rule. No personal drama at the table. No matter how bad things got between us, she always put on a show around friends and family. So for her to break character in front of Charlotte, that meant the walls were cracking. So I made a decision. I texted Charlotte back. Let's have dinner. Just us. I think you deserve to know a few things. That night, we met at a little diner we all used to go to before everything started unraveling. Charlotte walked in with that look, half curious, half bracing for impact. I didn't drag her into the deep end immediately. We ordered coffee, talked small. Then I pulled out the hotel receipt. I watched her face change slowly, like she was solving a puzzle she didn't want to finish. Then I slid my phone across the table, opened to a screenshot of the voice memo labeled, "He knows." I didn't play it. I didn't have to. Didn't have. Charlotte leaned back, covered her mouth, and just whispered, "Oh my God." And that's when something happened I did not expect. She didn't defend her. She didn't say, "You guys need therapy," or "It's probably not what it looks like." No. Instead, she said, "I knew it. I knew she was slipping." I blinked. "You knew?" She nodded, then looked out the window like she was watching her own memory play out. She came to me last year, said she felt like she married the wrong person, said she felt dead inside, like nothing excited her anymore. But she never told me she cheated. That hit hard. I sat there trying to process how long this seed had been growing in her while I was writing her birthday cards and organizing game nights. She was floating somewhere else entirely. Then Charlotte added, "She always said you were too kind to leave her, that you'd endure anything just to avoid being the bad guy." That was the moment I realized I wasn't seen as loyal. I was seen as predictable, exploitable. And the worst part? They were right. Until now. Charlotte asked if I planned to confront her. I said, no, at least not yet. Because I wanted her to feel what I'd felt, uncertainty. I wanted her to wonder if I was coming back, if I'd tell her parents, if I'd expose her, if I'd found out everything. I wanted her to sit in that fear the way I sat in confusion. But fate moved faster than I expected. The next evening, I got a call from a blocked number. I don't usually answer those, but something told me to pick up. A deep voice, calm, unapologetic. "You're Elwood, right?" I stayed quiet. "I'm not calling to fight," he continued. "I just think you deserve to know that I didn't know she was married at first. She told me you were separated, said it was over, and you just hadn't moved out yet." My throat went dry. "Who is this?" He paused, then said, "Alan." So this wasn't Cam. This was the other voice on the recording, the one who laughed when she said I was quiet, the one who knew exactly what she was doing. "She broke it off today," Alan said. "She had to fix things with you, but she didn't do it for you, man. She did it because her sister found out." Charlotte. She'd confronted her, fast. Alan wasn't angry. He wasn't trying to win her back. He just wanted me to know the truth, without sugarcoating it. "Sorry you had to find out like this," he said. "Honestly, you deserve better." And then he hung up. No threats, no accusations. Just facts. It was quiet for a few seconds until my phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Marielle. "We need to talk tonight. Please. I made a mistake. I can't fix it alone." She finally broke. But I wasn't ready to pick up the pieces for her. Not anymore. Not when I had just found out what she'd done to all of us. I didn't respond to her message. I didn't have to. She knew I read it. The 3 dots popped up, disappeared, came back. She waited and probably rehearsed lines in her head. Apologies, half lies, maybe even tears. I imagined her pacing, checking the door, thinking I'd arrive like I used to. Quiet, unsure, still willing to believe in things that no longer existed. But she underestimated how far I'd drifted. I didn't go over that night. I waited until the next evening, waited until the porch light was on, and I could see her silhouette through the window, sitting alone in the living room. No TV, no music, just her, a blanket, and silence. I didn't text first. I just unlocked the front door, my key still worked, and walked in without knocking. She stood up immediately, eyes wide, hands shaking. She opened her mouth like she'd been holding words for hours, but I beat her to it. Don't speak. She froze. I walked past her, calm, slow, like I was walking through a memory. My memory, the one she tried to rewrite without me. I'm only here for one reason, I said. To look you in the eyes when you try to lie, because I need to see if you even can anymore. She started crying immediately. Not the loud kind, the soft, trembling kind. The one that used to get me to wrap my arms around her without question. But this time, I just stood there. You had a choice, I said. You could have been honest. You could have told me you were done. You could have let me leave with my dignity. She wiped her face. I didn't know what I wanted. No, you just wanted everything at once. Me for stability, him for excitement. And when it got too real, you started deleting files like memories don't leave stains. She winced. That line hit. Good. Then she whispered, "How much do you know?" I let that question hang in the air like smoke. I could see it burning in her mind. What did I hear? What did I see? Who told me what? I didn't answer her. Instead, I pulled a small manila envelope from my coat and tossed it on the coffee table. She stared at it, terrified. What is that? It's every screenshot, every recording, every deleted photo I recovered. Don't worry, it's not a threat. I'm not going to blackmail you or ruin your life or send it to your boss. That's not who I am. And it's definitely not who I'm becoming. Then I sat down, not beside her, on the far chair, a whole room away. And for the first time in months, I told her the truth. I thought I was broken, that I was boring, that I was some faded version of the man you used to love. But that wasn't the truth. The truth is, I never stopped showing up. You just stopped caring. She sobbed harder, still didn't speak. I made mistakes too, I admitted. I overlooked signs, I let you drift. I waited too long to say what I needed. But I never betrayed you. Finally, she whispered something. I never stopped loving you. I stared at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No hate, no hope, just release. Then why do you need someone else to feel alive? She didn't answer. She couldn't. And that's when I stood up. I'm not here to fix this. I'm here to return your version of the truth. You can keep it. I'm done carrying it. I walked to the door, paused, and looked back at the house we built. The same walls that held our laughter, our movie nights, our quiet breakfasts. Now it all felt staged. Before I stepped outside, she asked, "Is this it?" I nodded. This is me finally choosing myself. And then I left, but not back to my mom's, not to a hotel. I went to a place I hadn't been in years, somewhere that reminded me who I was before I started trying to fix someone else's broken compass. And what I found there wasn't just peace. It was someone. Someone I never expected to see again. I drove for almost 2 hours before I realized where I was going. No map, no playlist, no destination typed in. Just instinct, maybe muscle memory. Or maybe some part of me needed to find something honest again, something untouched by her voice, her scent, her fingerprints on the walls of my mind. It was a small coastal town we'd visited years ago. Not for a honeymoon or an anniversary, just a random trip, off-season, rainy. We stayed in a budget inn with squeaky beds and thin walls, ate greasy fries by the pier, laughed like teenagers on a carousel meant for children. It had been ordinary, unpolished, and real. We hadn't taken many photos, just one in front of the lighthouse, both of us windswept and blinking from the salty breeze. But I didn't go back for the memory. I went for the park bench. It sounds stupid, I know. But there was this little wooden bench overlooking the water, half hidden by a crooked row of trees. And on that bench, carved into the old wood with a pocket knife, were our names, barely visible now. The sea air had weathered the wood. The names faded like secrets whispered too long ago. I sat there alone as the wind picked up. The waves crashed in the distance like they were arguing with the shore, and I finally let myself exhale. Not cry, not scream, just breathe like I hadn't in weeks, until someone spoke behind me. Elwood? I turned around slowly, thinking I must have imagined it. But there she was. Not Mariel. Harper. A name I hadn't said out loud in nearly 10 years, a name that still sounded like sunlight through stained glass. She stood there in a red hoodie and jeans, holding a paper coffee cup, blinking at me like she wasn't sure if I was real either. Harper? I asked, half standing. What are you? I live here now, she said, stepping forward. Well, 15 minutes out. I come here after work sometimes. I saw you sitting and... Elwood, are you okay? That question cracked me open more than I expected. I sat back down. She joined me without asking. We hadn't spoken since our early 20s. We dated for 2 years, broke up when life pulled us in opposite directions. No drama, no cheating, just timing. I married a year later. Harper moved out of state. I always assumed she found someone better, someone more steady, more finished. But there she was, on our bench, holding my name again in her voice. Long week, I finally muttered. She nodded like she understood more than she should. We sat in silence for a while. Then she said, "You still talk too softly when you're hurt." That line nearly unraveled me. She remembered, not just me, but the small versions of me I thought had been erased. I told her everything, not out of weakness, but because it felt like I didn't have to perform around her. I told her about the locked door, the recordings, the man, the message, the moment I chose to disappear. She didn't interrupt, didn't offer hollow sympathy. She just listened, fully, like she was listening to a person, not a story. When I was done, she looked out at the ocean and said something I'll never forget. "You always tried so hard to be safe for everyone else. But Elwood, maybe it's time you stopped choosing people who only love you when it's easy." That hit like truth written in thunder. She didn't try to seduce me, didn't play rescuer. We were just two people sitting beside a name carved into fading wood, wondering how we got so lost. Before she left, she said, "You don't have to call me. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to remind you that someone out there remembers you, even if she forgot." She walked away without looking back, and I sat there long after the sky went dark, replaying her words. Not because I was thinking about the past, but because I was finally starting to imagine a future. One that didn't require erasing myself just to be loved. I didn't sleep after seeing Harper. Not because I was torn between two women. This wasn't some romantic triangle. It wasn't about a choice between Mariel and someone else. The real choice was between who I had become and who I could still be. For years, I thought loving someone meant staying, enduring, making yourself small so they could stretch. I mistook silence for strength, thought that if I held steady long enough, she'd remember how to hold me back. But now I saw it for what it was, survival. And I was tired of surviving a marriage I wasn't even in anymore. So I drove back to the house, not to return, not to restart, but to finish the part of the story that Mariel never expected me to write. The one where I finally speak and she listens. She was home. I could see the flickering light of the TV through the window. I didn't knock this time either. I walked in the way I used to, keys in my hand, coat on, like I belonged. Only this time, I knew I didn't. She looked up from the couch, startled. "Elwood, you scared me." She looked different. Not messy, not destroyed, just waiting, like someone who'd set the stage for a scene they didn't know how to act out. "I'm not staying," I said quietly. "I know," she replied, eyes brimming with something that resembled regret, but felt too late to matter. I placed a small box on the coffee table. She didn't touch it. "What's that?" she asked. "It's everything that matters to you," I said. "Wedding ring, house key, our joint account card, a photo you left behind." She reached for it, hands trembling. "Elwood, please, can we talk?" I shook my head slowly. "We already did. You just didn't know I was listening?" Her face crumpled. "I messed up. I was stupid and selfish and scared. But I want to fix it. I want us back." I let that sentence hover in the air for a few seconds, then replied gently, "You want the version of me that stayed quiet, that forgave before you confessed, that made excuses for your absence. But he's gone, and I'm not asking you to chase him." She stood, walked closer. "You don't have to forgive me right away. Just give me time. We can go to therapy, "I don't want therapy," I said, softer this time. "I want peace." She looked confused. "But we can get that together." I smiled sadly. "Mariel, the peace I need doesn't live in this house." She started to cry, but I didn't comfort her. Not because I wanted revenge, but because that had always been my role. Her comfort, her stability, her emotional landing pad. I couldn't do that anymore, not even out of pity. Then I took out a second envelope, one she hadn't noticed in my coat. "This is the paperwork. You don't have to sign tonight. Just know it's not a threat. It's a door, one I'm walking through, and you can close behind me however you need." She didn't say anything, didn't scream, didn't throw anything. Just stood there, crying silently in the same room where we once laughed over cheap wine and midnight pancakes. I walked to the door, opened it, and before I left, I turned around one last time. "You didn't break me," I said. "You just broke the illusion that I had to stay broken to be loved." And then I walked out, down the porch steps, into the night. The wind was cold, but my chest felt lighter. I didn't go back to Harper, not yet. This journey wasn't about someone else catching me. It was about finally standing on my own. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking away to prove a point. I was walking away because I had won. 2 weeks passed after I walked out of that house. No messages, no calls, no late-night emails from Mariel. I think she knew not to chase me. Not because I was angry, but because I was finally done. And when someone like me, quiet, patient, always the last to leave, actually leaves, it's never temporary. I didn't stay at my mom's. I found a small Airbnb in the hills overlooking the water, a converted guest house with peeling shutters and crooked floorboards. Nothing fancy, but every morning I opened the window, breathed in the cold, pine-scented air, and didn't have to explain my silence to anyone. I started doing small things I hadn't done in years. I cooked for myself, not to impress anyone, just because I liked the smell of garlic on the stove again. I went on long walks without checking my phone. I bought a used bike and rode it past lakes I'd forgotten existed. I read books that weren't about relationships. I even cried once or twice, but it felt good, like clearing out a room full of dust. Then one morning, a letter arrived. Not an email, not a text. An actual handwritten letter in a cream envelope with my name on the front, from Mariel. I didn't expect it, honestly. I almost didn't open it. But something about the weight of it felt different. Inside, there were just 3 things: a note, a photo, and a folded piece of paper. The photo was old, from our Oregon trip, the one from the lighthouse. We were both squinting, half laughing, wind-blown and flushed. She'd written on the back, "The last time we were truly us." The letter was brief. No begging, no manipulation. Just this: "You were right. I forgot to look at you while you were looking at me. And by the time I turned my head, you were already gone. That's not your fault. I hope you find what I couldn't hold. Not because I deserve it, but because you do." The folded paper was her signed copy of the divorce forms. No notes, no drama, just her signature. It didn't make me feel victorious. It made me feel free. 3 days later, I walked the pier again. Same bench, same sky. This time the wind wasn't angry. It was sharp, playful, like it had been waiting for me to come back whole. I sat down, and not 10 minutes later, I heard footsteps. Not Mariel. Harper. She didn't speak at first. Just sat beside me like she belonged there. She held out a second coffee cup without looking at me. "You still take it with honey, right?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah, still do." We sat like that for a while, drinking, breathing, saying nothing and everything at once. Then finally, I turned to her and asked the question I hadn't dared before. "Why did you walk away back then?" She looked down at the waves. "Because I was scared you were going to become someone else, and I didn't want to fall in love with a version of you I couldn't keep up with." "And now?" I asked. She looked at me again, not past me, at me. "Now you're not trying to be anyone else anymore." I didn't say anything. I just leaned back, closed my eyes, and let the sunlight hit my face. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting to be